Hello, everyone. Happy Easter, happy spring, and happy New Year, too. I'm Lois Herman here with Inspiring Hope to bring you messages from inspiring people who are making a difference in our world. Today, I have a very, very special guest. But first, let me ask you, what does this special time mean to you? For me, this is a time of reflection, renewal, and regeneration. A time to let go of those dark winter doldrums and welcome the promising rebirth of spring. A time when Jesus resurrected from this density, the drama and trauma of this earth, and ascended to the light of spirit. He remains here to help us from above. We have only to ask, and he's always with us. He's my special guest today, reflecting on 200 Inspiring Hope show guests and others that I've interviewed over the years. The most remarkable interview by far was with my beloved teacher, Jesus. Over the years, he appeared to many clients in their sessions and is always incredibly positive and uplifting. One of his most frequent messages is that we need to lighten up, saying we take ourselves too seriously. We must forgive ourselves and embrace all the beauty of this beloved earth and the joy of being alive, even today. With this being Easter week and the upcoming eclipse, I'm reminded that there was an eclipse on the day Jesus died that rocked the world at that time. There was also an eclipse in America 3 days after he came through the channel session with Gary back in August of 2017. That was 7 years ago. My life has never been the same. I had the distinct honor and privilege of interviewing Jesus as he descended into Gary's physical body on that very special day. Coming into our 3D world was really difficult for his vibrant energy, and he was reminded of what it felt like to be human over 2,000 years ago. Our amazing ascended masters vibrate at such a high energy level that they exude only love. When lowered into this 3D density, we truly feel the lower planes of energy and have to work hard to stay uplifted and out of the draining pull of negativity. Well, I've shared the exact dialogue that I had with Jesus in another show with Andrew Pirali speaking the part of Jesus. That's wonderful. I encourage you to watch that. Today, I'd like to share my thoughts that were captured after the interview experience. These notes are recorded in the reflections section of the Chronicles of Hope, the Collective, Book 2. Jesus shared so many simple insights to live by that we captured him in a segment of the book called Jesus' Top 40. Be sure to listen to the exact conversation I had with him captured on the Inspiring Hope segment of the Lois Herman website show called I Am the Spirit Known as Jesus. You'll find that also on Rumble and YouTube. His messages and insights have guided me to this day, and I am ever grateful for this great and amazing teacher, his presence, and his divine love. So much has come to pass in our lives since that visit with Jesus, and many things are starting to make even more sense. We must listen to our intuitive wisdom, wake up and heed the call to take action. Remember, the Roman Empire fell because of the decay from within. We're experiencing much the same level of decay in our society today. It's past time for honest people to stand up and stop the destructive decay from those who are enforcing their toxic belief systems on honest people, and especially on the children of our world. Today, we welcome the strong yet tender spirit of Jesus. Are you ready to wake up? Are you prepared to answer the call and make a difference in your own way? Let these insights from Jesus help you on your journey. Here were my reflections at the time of the session. This was session 2 in the Green Book, Chronicles of Hope, the Collective. Do unto others as you would have others do unto you, from Jesus. Before the session, Gary, Paul, and I were determined to continue our journey to receive information that would be shared with humanity. We started by discussing how on earth we would deliver these messages. Will the information be best published as a book? Should we distribute it through social media or podcasts? We decided to organize the transcribed sessions in such a way that we would have multiple options that we've actually used successfully since. We reflected on the last session that we had and were surprised by the information that came from Re, the god of Atlantis, and speculated on who might visit us this day. We discussed what questions we might ask. Should we ask how to prepare for changes that are coming to Earth? How are we going to inspire hope for humanity? What is our role? What is our part in helping this world? What are the most important messages that we're to deliver? Gary suffered from a lot of physical issues, so I also wanted to ask questions to help him heal his body. While assisting Gary, it also presented an opportunity to learn ways to help others who struggle with similar health issues. When Jesus showed up to converse with us, we were totally surprised and absolutely delighted. Again, you can listen to the entire conversation with Jesus on an earlier radio show or read it in book 2 or the blog at chroniclesofhope.net. Today, I'm going to share my reflections on the session. What was interesting is Gary was able to remember most of transpired in this session as Jesus said he would. He described moments of discontinuity at the beginning and end, yet Gary seemed to be present for most of the session. He was having trouble processing it as all, because as brothers, their energy was more closely matched, which allowed this session to be the longest yet, at over an hour. Gary experienced much more emotion than in prior sessions. He commented that he didn't feel much emotion from the Unquietus, and he felt some of Ray's feelings. However, Jesus' spirit had a great deal of emotion that he could feel strongly in his heart. We discussed the concept that there may be a relationship around the heart being the seat of emotion. We felt a need to touch people's hearts with Jesus' many messages, the way he touched so many in his lifetime and beyond. We spoke of the caution from Jesus on choosing to accept this mission. In many of our own past lives, we were beheaded, burned at the stake, died in our own tragic ways for bringing positive messages or helping people. This time, we hope to make an exception. We know we're here for a reason to deliver the messages of the collective to you. We also discussed that Jesus is always here when we call on him. We are never alone. Reflection, Session 2. I am Jesus. In this powerful session, we speak with the spirit of Jesus, prophet, messenger, teacher, brother, dear friend. I was overjoyed to have an actual conversation with this dear guide, whom I call on regularly. Jesus comes to many of my clients while they're in trance. As the observer to their sessions, I have the privilege of hearing Jesus' messages on a regular basis. He always speaks of love, kindness, compassion, and forgiveness. As I said earlier, he encourages people to lighten up, often saying we are way too hard on ourselves, that we need to enjoy our lives and each other. Jesus brings a warm, glowing kindness that is truly profound. Clients always express a sense of calmness when he visits. I encourage people to call on him regularly, especially when stressed or worried. I've learned that Jesus will take away our fears. And when we remember to call on him, he will always be there, as he said, always. In this channeled conversation, Jesus was more animated than Ray. He sat upright in the chair, holding his hands lightly in front of him, gesturing freely. He opened his arms wide with his hands gently welcoming, as he's often portrayed in some pictures. At times, he rubbed his chin, moved his head from side to side. He even buried his face in his hands at times in exasperation. His human energy was intensely palpable. I could feel his warmth, tenderness, the sincerity deep in my heart. Jesus was quite personable, exhibited a sense of humor, and expressed a variety of emotions. He had tears in his eyes when he spoke of the sadness over his messages having been lost, and I could feel the depth of his suffering. Conversing with this dear teacher and guide triggered a host of my own feelings. Imagine how emotionally charged the session was from the excitement of having a very real conversation with Jesus and experiencing the sadness he felt over his messages having been lost, to the concern he shared on how I needed to spread these messages. Again, who, me? I came away with even more drive to follow through on my commitment to reshare the lost messages that Jesus taught so eloquently over 2,000 years ago. When reflecting on how messages are lost or distorted over time, one theory is that as people gain power, they begin to feel superior. Their traditions, thought processes, and actions shift toward being more self serving. As they become more ego based and less communal, less heart centered, these power centric people change the initial messages to suit their own purposes. This causes confusion among the people, and the collective energy spirals out of control. There was great turmoil in Jesus' time, with controlling rulers who subsequently adopted and distorted his messages, while others have historically changed messages to suit their agendas. This trend has continued with perhaps more frequency today. With our ability to globally communicate in this day, I am encouraged that we have the opportunity to present these messages exactly as they were delivered to us. Our hope is that we may come together as a human collective in a way that wasn't possible in Jesus' era. As others do, I have my own heartfelt connection with Jesus, and I've learned to call on him regularly to assist myself and my clients with everyday issues. In my powerful connection with Jesus, I'm able to truly feel his guidance and actually hear him speaking to me in my mind. Contrasted with Gary, who was non religious and has no real interest in a relationship with Jesus. So this session came as quite a shock to him. He wasn't expecting it at all. Being Jewish himself, some Jewish clients have been surprised to discover that while in trance, Jesus comes when they call a guide for assistance. And because of their Jewish background, they express confusion as to why Jesus would come to assist. I'm Jewish. I remind them gently that the human Jesus was indeed Jewish, and that the eternal spirit of Jesus helps everyone. And this actually makes sense to them. Often, they would continue in a meaningful relationship with Jesus as their spiritual guide and teacher. It is society who began to associate Jesus with specific religions after his death. The eternal spirit of Jesus never claims a specific religious affiliation. Both the god Re from Atlantis and Jesus referenced past lives in their sessions. Reincarnation is mentioned throughout the Bible and in other holy books, yet some deny or downplay this concept. There is a belief that our spirits chose to come to earth for experience, to learn, to grow, or to teach. Some people wonder why anyone would choose a life that is so challenging. It's believed that we most often choose our parents, our family structure, our social and environmental situations for reasons related to our intended purpose. Each one is different. Experience is the best teacher. I often take clients to a place known as the life between lives so they can learn for themselves why they chose to be born into their specific life situation or why they were asked to incarnate. Memories of previous incarnations are typically blocked from us when we're born. Though some do have spontaneous prior life recall, we have to be careful because spontaneous prior life memories are often not your own. That's another topic for another day. We can choose to access these memories through guidance, such as hypnosis, when we're ready to understand, process, and learn from them. Numerous people have past life recall of being alive at the time when Jesus was here on earth. Many of my clients have gone through sessions where they connected with him, knew him, or of him in their past life. He had a very meaningful impact on them. Some were soldiers who carried such guilt for not stopping the cruelty against Jesus. One client was a peasant farmer who Jesus taught how to irrigate their crops. Another was a carpenter who worked side by side with Jesus. Others were disciples, both men and women. These were simple people. Jesus never discriminated against anyone and welcomed everyone into his flock: men, women, children, rich, poor, healthy, and infirm. No matter what race or denomination, his consistent message was, we are all one. I have my own past life memories of being with Jesus, where I listened to him teach to crowds, both large and small. As a young teen in that life, I traveled in his circles and experienced the simple peace of a community without strife. Unsure of my exact relationship with Jesus, other than my parents were among his followers, I do remember being in a large household with a wonderful open courtyard. It was a gathering place where people told stories, recited poetry, listened to musicians, and children like me enjoyed playing games. The excitement was palpable and evident when Jesus would return from his travels. He was so kind and engaging, and as a child, we always enjoyed his inviting presence. And there was a gentle laughter and much introspective discussion as he shared his insightful stories. I also have vivid recall of being extremely shaken by what the soldiers did to Jesus and how they destroyed our home. Because I have such visceral recall of him being crucified. To this day, I am deeply disturbed by the portrayal of Jesus bleeding on the cross. It seems strange to me to focus on the cruelty of his death when he was such an amazingly charismatic teacher, the message of peace and love. It's difficult to imagine why one would prominently display a photograph of a loved one on their deathbed, especially one that was so brutally killed. Shouldn't we prefer to remember their happier, healthier times? Why does our civilization focus on cruelty and venerate suffering? What if we were able to focus on good, uplifting teachings instead of sadness, sorrow, and pain? When I was a child in my current life, I much preferred to sit at Mother Mary's altar with her statue lovingly holding baby Jesus in her arms. To this day, Christmas continues to be a very special time for me. I feel honored to have received this special audience with Jesus. I believe he came because of my own deep connection with him. Jesus continues to guide me in my day-to-day interactions, both personally and professionally. I pray daily for his assistance for others, call for help with clients, ask for the words to say as I guide them, and connect clients while in trance to his kind and gentle energy. I also teach clients how to ask for his assistance and live in the light of his peace. Jesus wants to remind people that the guiding spirits we call on in this collective, of which he is one, are always here to assist when asked. Excuse me. Jesus clarified that he died after the crucifixion in the arms of the woman he loved. He declined to verbally acknowledge Mary Magdalene as his wife, simply stating she was very special. I felt he knew what I was asking and chose not to answer that question directly, as he considered the details of his human life and death to be less significant than his messages. He assured us that his resurrection was of spirit, communicating with his followers spiritually and telepathically, mentally, psychically. The Gnostics, of which his followers were considered to have been, had the ability to directly commune with God in their prayers. I believe Jesus was able to connect with his followers in a prayerful, spiritual, channeled way, similar to how the spiritually aware communicate with him in this day. Jesus shared how the collective thought a belief in one God might unify people. However, the opposite was the result. He was distressed with the absurdity of people fighting and killing over beliefs that were so similar among religions that are almost identical. The worst dissension is between sects of the same religion. Killing in the name of God hurts him and the collective tremendously. From Christians in the Crusades to the Protestant reformers to those who conquered nature-focused tribes. Isn't it time to stop the bloodshed in the name of God? When will we learn to accept other religions as if they are simply different languages? One is not right or wrong. Each belief is unique to the individual, just as each spirit is unique to the person. Clearly, much conflict is generated over similar religions enforcing their way of living as the only path. Those who force beliefs on others or argue about others' beliefs miss Jesus' foundational message of mutual respect. Chronicles of Hope invites us to tap into our own knowledge, our inner wisdom, the gnosis, and challenge old belief systems. As we digest these messages with openness, we enhance and renew our own understanding. Those who base their life on the honest teachings of the Bible and pray to God may wish to consider this series a companion text. Medical professionals are aware of the Hippocratic Oath, first do no harm. This was one of Jesus's favorite messages. Who are we to judge another's thoughts, beliefs, or life choices unless they are causing harm? Jesus also referred to the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. He emphasized the simplicity of this message and wondered when people will learn to be at peace with themselves first and then each other. The Chronicles book encourages every individual to truly listen, live, and share the messages that Jesus gave us so many years ago. Jesus affirmed that there is never one all-knowing, all-seeing, all-powerful God, just as Ray and the Unquietus reminded us. People often wonder how God could allow such terrible things to happen. The collective neither controls nor causes. Their energy serves as a group of guiding spirits assisting in times of crisis. They're all one, yet have individual personas, much as humanity is all one species, yet different individuals. Think about your hand with individual fingers that operate independently. They're all connected as one hand. Jesus reminds us that we can use the word soul and spirit interchangeably. The word soul tends to have more of a religious overtone, while spirit is more universal. Jesus said to avoid belief systems that don't value spiritual growth, encouraging humanity to believe in something that is real, that has value. He reminds us, if that is where someone's heart is, it's okay for people to pray to one God. It's not for us to judge. Also, if people are open to call on the collective of spirits to assist us every day, then humanity will see more positive shifts. We're invited to capture people's hearts, to allow them to create a more personal relationship with their own spirituality. One of my good friends suggested that we may choose to use the word God and the collective interchangeably. You could think of God, G-O-D, as group of divine beings, God. We're on this earth to learn, to experience, and to grow our spiritual selves. Since our spirits are eternal, when the human body dies, the spiritual part of our being continues. As our spirits mature, we learn the value of asking for guidance and being grateful for the answers we receive. Members of the collective God never interfere with our free will. When we request assistance, guidance comes in a variety of ways from many sources, people, and spiritual beings, including living friends, living angels, as well as passed over beloved ones. Years ago, I remember feeling frustrated when my stubborn young son refused to ask for help with his schoolwork. While the teachers were willing to help, he had to learn to ask. They could readily alleviate his distress, yet he must ask. Similarly, the more confident we are with our spirituality, we realize we're never alone in this world. The more we practice humility to invite help, the more we increase our awareness, the more we receive answers that come in a myriad of ways. It could be through the lyrics of a song, an impromptu meeting with a friend, or a series of interestingly sequential numbers. The true spiritual power is in the asking, believing, and receiving. It's remarkable and surprising how Jesus tells us to call on Gaia, the spirit of the earth. This has been practiced by earth-based and native cultures throughout the millennia. We know nature is pure, authentic, and good. Yet our own harsh side, as part of the circle of life, is there. At their inception, nature-focused practices such as witchcraft, Wicca, and paganism were pure in their initial intent. Some of these ancient practices have been distorted, creating shifts in perception over many thousands of years. Nature-based practices honor and respect nature. Native cultures ask Mother Nature in their own way for sun, rain, bountiful harvest, good hunting, and healing. Their practices are interconnected in ways that can show us, teach us how to survive and thrive. Connecting with nature has really never been attributed to Jesus' teachings in the past, yet it makes sense. His relationship with celestial energy has always been strong. There was a bright star in the heavens at his birth, which was truly the convergence of several stars or planets shining as one. Then there was the total solar eclipse at the moment Jesus died. It is said that he rose from the tomb and appeared to his disciples 3 days later. As I said a moment ago, it was interesting that this channeled visit from Jesus was exactly 3 days after a total solar eclipse crossed North America. Although eclipses happen regularly, the last one that crossed this part of the country was 99 years before. I found that to be an amazing coincidence. Honoring the sacred entity, the living spirit of Gaia, our earth is one of the cornerstones of the collective's teachings. It was quite memorable in this session with Jesus. Gaia provides us with what we need to heal disease, sustain life, and thrive. If humanity is to be saved, getting to know Gaia, appreciating her gifts, and showing her respect is essential, especially for our children. Jesus also referred to earthbound spirits as ghosts. In the work that my team and I do, it's gratifying to connect clients with the spirits of loved ones who've lived a good life and have passed into the light. Other spirits who are simply lost because of confusion at the time of their death seek assistance. I work with the beings of the collective to help these lost spirits find their way to a healing place in the light, which one might call heaven. In session work with clients, we often find lost spirits who died as victims and help them safely into the light as spirit rescuers. We also look for perpetrators who may be hiding in the shadows around these victims. Jesus said he was very concerned about what happens to spirits of people who do the harm, who have committed murder or worse, killing in the name of God. These kinds of actions damage the eternal spirit, and these damaged spirits can cause trouble to the living that they're drawn to. In addition to draining energy of their host, they influence the living with their negative emotions and energies. It does not surprise me that Jesus is concerned about damage to the lost souls. In biblical stories, Jesus was always looking for the lost lamb. In the work that we do, it feels deeply rewarding to assist lost souls into the light for healing. And it feels especially fulfilling to rescue the damaged ones who are stuck in the shadows. It's not up to us to redeem their spirits. That's part of the karmic work the spirit does in their own life review. Although I've noticed that the spirits of the perpetrators are taken by Jesus or Archangel Michael to different places than where the other lost spirits are taken. There also seems to be somewhat of a code of honesty in the spiritual realm. Spirits do not seem to lie unless it's a sorcery. When a simple spirit is asked if they hurt someone, the spirit will say yes if they did, and often with a sense of remorse. Many earthbound spirits do not feel worthy of going into the light because of the harm they have done to others. They express feelings of guilt and concern about what will happen in their life review. When I encourage them to go to a place of healing and forgiveness, where they may have a chance to start over, most of them eagerly go into the light with proper guidance from the guides of the collective. Their release helps the client's energy to shift to a lighter, quieter, more positive place. It is imperative that we clear the earth and living humans from these lost and damaged souls, or they will continue to wreak havoc on the living. While we encourage positive energy practices, it is equally important to support the lost spirits who are willing to make the transition. Relate this to the parable in the Bible of the prodigal son who was lost, and when he returned, the father celebrated. It seems many are struggling with increased health issues today. Our physical body is essential to human life on earth. It is important that we take care of this vessel to sustain health and in the process gain experience. Jesus tells us that there is a cure for every disease, and the cure is unique to each individual. There are many who have healed themselves from debilitating illnesses with natural remedies and mental shifts. Integrating medicine with holistic practices assists the healing journey. Many use wholesome lifestyle changes, body movements for strength, Reiki, special magnets, toxic substance elimination, mindfulness practices, including hypnosis, and other techniques to heal themselves. We must look to nature for cures instead of relying on drugs. I understand how healing professionals often put the greater good of others before themselves. Many are driven to help others and unfortunately ignore themselves in the process. Hesitate to take time for self-care. Their mission is selfless and their passion is to serve first and foremost. Yet as a result, some get bogged down from the negative energy attracted to them from being around those who need help. Much like catching germs from patients, wellness professionals pick up negative energies that drain their own energy. They become fatigued, overloaded, overwhelmed, and retreat in physical, mental, or emotional sickness. Other healing professionals go so far into their discovery journey that they tap into painful past life memories, while helping others ended tragically. One of my greatest joys is helping to awaken healers to their mission and purpose as they heal and release the trauma of their past. As they clear their emotional energies and understand their past, they clearly envision their calling. Humanity needs each sleeping healer to awaken to their mission so we can individually and collectively shift the energy around humanity to save this beautiful planet and all who live on her. The collective could not predict the future because our future is subject to the actions that us humans will take. Unfortunately, we're an unstable society and at best an ever-changing civilization. The collective is obviously concerned for our future, or would not be holding these intense conversations with us to raise awareness of the consequences of our actions. There are humans with psychic abilities who can foresee potential outcomes. They offer insight as to what might happen in the future, which is always based on the actions people chose or choose to take in the present moment. Many people carry painful memories from early life or past lives that hold us back and keep us from growing. We end up stuck, ruminating in negative thoughts. In past lives, a person may have experienced death for saying or doing good things and may be reluctant to speak out based on fear from that memory of persecution. In my own past, I suffered from that same fear. To unlearn or shift emotions tied to old memories, we must strive to understand, forgive, and release the pain of the past. Only then can we empower ourselves to make better choices based on experience and maturity. I love how Jesus spoke about giving positive feedback. Speak the compliment aloud, he said, was one of the most memorable messages for me. Some of my parents' generation were of the opinion that a child would get a big head if you complimented them. Therefore, many children in the boomer generation, that time, grew up lacking in self-worth. Subsequent generations were overly praised, which can tend to create self-centeredness. Jesus spoke of balance and wants us to give appropriate compliments regularly and offer thoughtful critique so it will be accepted constructively. Give praise when someone does well. Offer information with kindness about what can be improved, and encourage positive change. Amplify the good in people to overcome the negative. There is so much good in this world, yet we most often hear from those who are unhappy about something, while those who are more content are silent. The negative is generally louder and sensationalized by those in the spotlight, including journalists, celebrities, politicians. Unfortunately, some people seem to be drawn to horror and cruelty. There have been good news programs in the past. They were not very popular. It takes more effort to focus on the positive, though it is so worth it. This is why my team launched this good news radio show, which has turned into this podcast, to shine the light on inspiring people who are all around us, to amplify their voices. While writing the text for this chapter, I continuously asked for guidance from Jesus to make sure I was keeping true to his words. I'm grateful to hear him guiding my thoughts on a regular basis. Yet I wondered why some phrases in the conversation sounded different than how many of us hear Jesus in our hearts and mind. Then in another hypnosis regression session with a respected Team Hope member, Jesus spontaneously and surprisingly came through to offer several confirming insights. One being, remember, Gary is my brother. He is not me. Listen in your heart for my words. You will know. Gary often expressed heavy sadness and seemed to feel the weight of humanity's suffering. I realized that while in his expansive spirit form, Jesus is strong, majestic, loving, and protected. However, while lowering his vibrational energy to be in corporeal form through Gary, Jesus experienced the vast range of human emotions much more intensely. and expressed them fully in our conversation. He was deeply saddened by what had happened to his teachings and also seemed to feel the collective suffering of humanity, which truly touched my heart. I was curious about the memory of my relationship with Jesus at the time when he was on earth and asked, and why they asked me to deliver these messages. In this guided session, I asked Jesus how he knew me back then, and he explained, "You always had flowers in your hair. You danced and sang. You were a happy little girl. I was in the marketplace talking with people who were coming up to ask me questions, and you were with the youth who stood back from the adults to watch. I loved being with the children. They gave me such joy, especially when I was feeling such sadness." This explains why I continue to think of Jesus with such joy in my heart. His reminder gives me the knowing that I'm to hold on to the innocence of youth in this project without personal agenda or bias. Jesus said it is your faith that will help you, heal you, save you. I know this deep in my heart and have seen results so many times. One of his greatest messages is that when you ask for help, it will be given. We must remember to ask, then listen in our hearts for the answers. Jesus clarified he never intended to create a revolution when he was in corporeal form 2,000 years ago. He shared a concern that coming back as human in this day and time might create a situation of worship and dependency, which he does not want. It would cause more distraction, disturbance, and division. He affirmed that he is ever here for us in spirit to call on and advised us to call. He will be here whenever we ask. While Jesus' message were kept alive by his followers, they were distorted and changed over time. How extraordinary that he is giving us the messages again, chronicled in this collection, to help people remember his true intentions. My team and I hope you will embrace Jesus' heartfelt teachings in your own way and take what resonates in your heart. Encourage each other and lift each other up. Have faith. Many will make changes in ways that will cause ripples of hope for a positive, healthy, and happy future for our world. Jesus' parting message to me was, I know you will share my words with truth. Trust yourself. I am always in your heart. I thank you, Jesus, for your continued guidance, assistance, and love. He said, and I say unto you, ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. You are listening to Inspiring Hope with Lois Herman. If you enjoy our insights, please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, look up, stay positive, and be the light in someone's day.